I don't know where I first heard the proverb, but it goes, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than to be a gardener in a war. So it essentially tells us that, it's better to always be ready to be a fighter, to be, you know, be strong, be hard, be resilient, like kind of it doesn't leave very much space for vulnerability, for growth, for sweetness to yourself. I decided to switch it into Garden Through the War because that allowed um, the story that I was trying to tell. It took the story that I was trying to tell and it made the message come across. And it's essentially what I'm trying to say is that to garden through a war is sometimes so is survival. It is what keeps us coming through. Is if you have this kind of fighter mentality, um, that works for some, but sometimes it doesn't work for others. And just kind of putting your head down and having the strength to just simply get through something difficult is really important and is really valuable, and is something that isn't celebrated. We celebrate a lot of strength, and you came out stronger, you came out, and it's just like, you don't have to come out stronger. Sometimes you just have to come out on the other side alive, and then there's a lot of growth that comes through that whole process.
I want to welcome you on the show, Mia Kelly. This is Proper Conversations. We talk to artists across Canada about their music journey and projects they have in the moment. So thank you so much for giving your time today.
Thank you so much for having me, Fa. It's really a pleasure to be here finally.
Finally,
Yeah.
finally. So where I want to start from is that I've gone through your website and I've gone through all that I can pull about you. I just want to start off with a little bit of quotes that you put somewhere on your website about people talking
Okay.
about your music. I think the one that catches my attention the best is that it says from A&R Factory that your potently celestial vocals and lyrical depth you could drown in. And when I read that, I think it aligned so much with what I had experienced listening to your album when I first got the full stuff from Carrie. And I so typically I love to begin with, at what point in your childhood, just growing up, did you find
Yeah.
music or music found you? And if you were to leap however many years up front to when this quote was given, would you have imagined somebody describing what you do as potently celestial?
What an incredible description. I genuinely, when I read that for the first time, I was emotional. It was really, really kind. Um, and I found music, or music found me, as you so nicely put it. I was about 7 years old, and I started doing musical theater, and that's when I fell in love with the stage, with performing, with just being under the lights, and I thought it was so exciting, and it's really I was very, I had found my place, and so ever since then I've just uh, kind of kept evolving on stage, and then I took some music lessons and did the whole starting to write and starting to do shows on my own, and it just kind of snowballed into what it is today. But
Hmm.
never in my wildest 7-year-old dreams would I have imagined that this is kind of what I'm doing with my life, and that people would call it potently celestial. Are you kidding? Like, oh my
No,
god.
but that's very fascinating though. So, because I'm a huge fan of lyrics, right? I have pulled
Hmm.
as we continue to have this conversation. I'm going to tell you some of my favorite lyrics from what you have written so far. I'm also going to share with you my favorite song from the album. But the question is, um, what got you into that level of poetry when you started writing? Because I understand that it might come with the genre in which you found yourself being, folksy and alternative folk and all of that stuff. But
Hmm.
how did you gravitate towards so much depth and poetry? Because that's what your music reads like.
Thank you. It's a huge compliment. And I think the songwriting and the lyrics part is the most important for me. And so to hear that from you is really, really, I'm really grateful. And I think to answer your question, I think I kind of grew up. On a lot of lyric centric music and a lot of great poets and lyricists. Right now, I'm thinking of Leonard Cohen, and I'm always, reading lyrics and going to see what is this song about? What's the storytelling? What do they mean by that? Oh, I love the way they said that. And so, kind of by you learn by studying others, and so I definitely think that's what happened for me, and it just comes out. That's how it comes out for me, and so it's it's been a study of others, but also a natural kind of the way it comes out. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I think the first time because I did live in, and I think this flows into your project, your recent project, but I did live in Ottawa for some 3 years, I believe 4 years,
Awesome.
from 2010 to like 2013 or thereabout. But I think when I
Okay.
first found you, you were playing around the Wakefield area. Is that familiar at all? Did you play
Yeah,
around there?
absolutely. Yeah, I did play a lot. Yeah. I grew
Okay,
up
okay, because
playing in the Wakefield area. Yeah, for sure.
that's incredible. In 2012 and 2013, I actually did. I was a guest director for Theatre Wakefield. They had a camp there for kids where
Cool.
I
Yeah, they
was
still
there for
do, I
two.
think.
Yeah, so I was there for 2 summers with the guys who ran it at the time, Brenda and her husband Robert Rooney. But I think
Right.
it just pulled me towards your music, and I just think that familiarity is fascinating. So now you have all of this stuff. I was watching your interview this morning, the one you did from I think 3 years ago, 2019, in Blues Fest and all of that stuff, and you started playing for Blues
Ah,
Fest um, from way back
hilarious.
when.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it was no, but it was just at what point at what point did you know that this could potentially be a career, that you something that you wanted to do on a professional level?
That's a good question. I remember in grade 11 at our high school, we had to kind of do this personal project. And so, people built things and made things and wrote a recipe book or things like that. And I decided I'd been doing music for a while now, and I decided that I would record an EP. And so, taking that very, very seriously and kind of more, I wanted to do it anyways, but the fact that kind of school forced me to do it in a certain time frame. And that was really, having that project and it being super well received was a huge kind of push towards making. I've always wanted to do music, and I know I'm never going to stop, but kind of the place that it took, that it will take in my life, was kind of yet to be decided. And that the success of that success, the way that album was, or the EP was received, that's a big word for a small album, but
No, 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 come on, come on. No. I think
but just
it's a good choice of word, but go on.
it was just so exhilarating and exciting to be so well received, and I have so much fun doing my music. And so just kind of building up from there. And then more recently, earlier this year, I had a meeting with the Salle Odyssée, which is where I did my album launch last night. And I remember them just being so incredibly on board. And they agreed to do a partnership with me for my album launch and to kind of endorse me for this grant that I was doing an application for. And I remember driving home and I was like, man, I could make this work. I could make this like my job. I could make this my life. And it was just such a fun moment to kind of have the realization that it's not going to be easy. Of course it's not, but that I really, really want to do this. So,
I spent a good chunk of time listening to Cardboard Box. That was your first EP.
yeah.
Um, and it has, I think, 4 songs on there. But
It
I
does.
find the same theme kind of runs through into what you have termed your debut album right now, and I'm fascinated to hear about how such heavy themes are embedded in your music, such themes about resilience, such themes
Hmm.
about looking inward, such themes about setting yourself free. How do you find yourself in that realm of heaviness?
Well, so I started songwriting because I it's a way for me, it's a perfect outlet for me to kind of let go of my emotions, and when things are getting really really heavy, I can't take them anymore in my own little heart, and so I kind of have them out on the page. And so I can't really write if it doesn't stir something in me emotionally, and that's when
Hmm.
it's really inspiring for me. And so to write about things that are I don't think I could find myself writing about things that didn't mean a whole lot to me, because that's kind of the whole point of my music, to me, is to
Yeah.
kind of share my emotions, share the feelings and the stories, and um, the message that I'm trying to put across. Um, and so it's kind of like therapy to me is writing songs, and it just kind of really allows me to understand myself. Sometimes I'll write a song, and then I'll look back at it a couple months later, and I'm like, huh, I didn't realize I thought that, or like I didn't realize I felt that way, or like,
Uh-huh.
so it's
Uh-huh.
really a lot of introspection, and I think that encourages introspection in others, which I love when I'm listening to music. So it's sweet to kind of have that component in my own.
And do you think the I think there's a slight tinge of melancholy in the sound. Do you think that helps drive the message home as to what you're trying to communicate?
Absolutely. I mean, as you said, a lot of the messages are pretty heavy. We like in Garden Through the War, we're touching on dysfunctional family, on homelessness, on fear, on depression, on just a bunch of things that are not very easy or happy topics. And so I think, to stay somewhat connected with my message, my music has to stay a little bit, some seriousness, some edge, some deepness, some darkness, some sadness, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and
All the
I'm not
while
I'm
not
not
being too depressing. Yeah. Hopefully.
and I don't no no no, and I don't think it is. I think and again I think that's the question, because I think it's bold and daring to wanna have your music express that, because I think as a society, as a culture, we want to run away from that, but it's part of the human
Yeah.
experience. So I think if we're able to
Absolutely.
capture it in a way that makes the audience and makes the listener very reflective, I think that's a win. So thank you so much for doing that, because I enjoy it. I do enjoy it anytime I listen to
Oh,
you. So thank you so much for
thank
doing
you.
that.
My pleasure. I think it's just important to open, dialogue about the hard things, and that's kind of what the album is about, partially. So I appreciate you saying that.
No, that's great. That's great. I also love opening the dialogue about hard things, because part of the human experience, I think, in my experience, is hard. Right? There's the
Yeah,
hard side, and then there's the happy side, and that both of them makes up the totality of what we do here. So yeah.
exactly. Well said.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So okay, so tell me about the making of this album, Garden Through the War, and you also have a title track from it. How long did it take you to put this album together?
Well, it's funny because to actually record the album was quite a short process. I was not expecting it to be, but I totaled, I think, at like 8 or 9 days in the studio, which
Okay.
was super efficient, but we weren't rushing anything, which was really nice. We just had long days and very productive days, and a lot of fun. But if you look back at,
Uh-huh.
when these songs were being written, um, it's kind of been an album 3 or 4 years in the making. Some songs I wrote when I was, in high school when I was 15, 16. Some of them I've also written in the last, couple in the last year probably. So it's just kind of a span of the last couple years and the experience that I've had, and some experiences that I've heard of and I've absorbed and I've turned into music as well. So it's been a long but also a very short process.
Okay, and I know artists typically write like a whole bunch of songs. Did you have to whittle down, like how did you come upon these set of songs that you said, okay, this is what we're gonna put in this particular record?
Yeah, so um I had a load of songs that I would love to record, but you only have so much time and only so much money. Uh, and also, it was important to me to have kind of a theme that kind of kept the album on a track, the same kind of message. Obviously, there's variations in the message, and it's not all about the same thing, but overall, there's kind of this message of strength and resilience and growth. And these are all things that I think collectively we've experienced a lot of in the last couple of years. And so I picked these songs kind of specifically because that's what they represented for me, and that's how I wanted. That's the message I wanted to come across for sure.
Yeah, and and so my favorite song on the album, at least right now that we're talking, is
Yeah,
"Margaret, My Dear." um,
I love that song
uh,
as well.
do you do that? Do you have favorites when you put out an album? Are you
Yeah,
trying that too?
yeah. It changes like every day, but I think mine right now is Morphe, which is the third one. Yeah.
Yeah, I really want to talk to you about the French songs, but I can't speak French and I don't want to murder the names, but they sound
That's
just as
okay.
good. They sound just as good as the English songs. But um, so before we talk about the title track and the single that you have out right now, what about how did Margaret, My Dear come about? Because it's such a beautiful written song. So how did that come about?
Yeah, so that one is a very, very important song for me. It's very close to my heart. I find it hard to perform it live, and I get all like teary and emotional. Um, and I wrote it. That was one of the earlier songs that I wrote that made it onto the album, and it's about a good friend of mine who's deeply struggling with mental health, and I had no idea how to help her, and she kind of was pushing a lot of help away, and that was really hard as a friend to see, and I didn't know how to react to it, and so I wrote kind of this song, um, just to let her know that I knew how hard it was, and I could see her struggling, and that I would always be there even if she didn't know how to kind of take that help, and that I loved her very, very dearly. And I'm happy to say that she's significantly better today and that she's still with us. But that's kind of what that song is about, is recognizing the struggle, and just kind of being there in solidarity with your close your close circle when they need your help.
Huh. Wow. Um, so I get a sense that you are that community is kind of important to you.
Yeah. Big big time. Yeah.
Uh huh. Uh huh. So I'm going to ask you what's especially in these times that we live in. What do you think is the value of having strong ties and strong bonds, um, even within community, even as we go about in this times that we are in?
I think having people around you that you can count on, that you can share the hardships with, that you can share the light with, makes a world of difference. It can be life saving, it can be life changing. It is what keeps me grounded and whole and healthy, is having kind of very rich and deep connections with my friends, with my family. And I'm so fortunate to have these people around me. But it really, I think it makes me who I am. And I think having a community is the most important thing you can do to kind of make sure that there's a net there to catch you if you fall, if something's not right, and that you can be someone else's net, you know? And it's just kind of a give and receive, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. Yeah.
Well said. Very well said. Okay, I read that the title track of this project is kind of like a pushing back on a popular proverb, and you're able to fashion this into a very beautifully written song. So, just if you want to tell us that process of converting, or rather flipping that proverb on its head, and also what the importance of expressing that vulnerability, as opposed to the hardness that society often pushes us to be, about warriorship and about being strong and hard, about flipping that, and just what does flipping that whole notion, what does it do for us as a people?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Um, I don't know where I first heard the proverb, but it goes, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than to be a gardener in a war. So it essentially tells us that, you know, it's better to always be ready to be a fighter, to be uh you know, be strong, be hard, be resilient, like, kind of, it doesn't leave very much space for vulnerability, for growth, for sweetness to yourself. I decided to switch it into garden through the war because that allowed, um the story that I was trying to tell. It took the story that I was trying to tell, and it made the message come across. And it's essentially what I'm trying to say is that, to garden through a war is sometimes, so is survival. It is what keeps us coming through. Is if you have this kind of fighter mentality, um, that works for some, but sometimes it doesn't work for others. And just kind of putting your head down and having the strength to just simply get through something difficult is really important, and is really valuable, and is something that, isn't celebrated. You know, we celebrate a lot of strength, and you know, you came out stronger, you came out, and it's just like, you don't have to come out stronger. Sometimes you just have to come out on the other side alive, and then you can, there's a lot of growth that comes through that whole process. And so I hope that answers your question. And that's kind of how I came to flip that proverb to become garden through the war.
See, I have goosebumps, right? Because I I've been like, I've been talking about this to people for years and years and years, right? It's just, I think it's such an important message,
Hmm.
that that we need to hear, and then more people need to hear that, part sometimes winning can look like just making it through another day, and that's winning. You
Exactly.
don't have to
Exactly.
be standing, you don't have to be standing, with a gold medal or something like that. You don't have to be standing on a mountaintop, right? You just making it to the next day could all you
Exactly.
need, could all you need sometimes. And it's
Hmm.
amazing that you say that, because I see that your philosophy, kind of, on life, which has sipped in through your music, hasn't quite changed. Because in that CTV interview I told you I listened to, I think the interviewer asked you where you wanted all of this to go. And your answer was very telling and was very fascinating. So I'm going to prompt you, and I'm going to ask that you speak on that just a little bit more. But you said, if you were able to be a working musician, something around that concept, that if you weren't necessarily looking for all of the fame and fortune, but if you were able to make a living off of what you do, that would be great. Tell me how in this, again, in this crazy world where everybody is trying
Yeah.
to shoot for the moon, how you've come to settle with that kind of idea, and how you found comfort in saying, okay, I want this, but if I don't get it, then this is just good as long as I continue to keep making music.
I think my stance on that has kind of stayed the same. I think um, within the music industry, being successful can look a variety of different ways. You can be the biggest pop star in the world and everyone knows your name and you're on every single magazine cover and everyone's talking about you. And you can also just be, you know, recording as much as you can, making it a lifelong, um, very sustainable career, and kind of enjoying and making connections and making friendships and collaborations. And I I don't know where this will go. I hope that my biggest hope is that I can just keep doing this and that it will sustain me, and that I can pay my bills and that I will not be, homeless and starving when I'm 35. Um, but I think if I can make music a sustainable career for myself, then I will be the happiest I can be. I have so much fun doing it, and um, if I can touch, as many people as I can with the messages that I try to put across, then even better. And just kind of sharing music is massive and can be life changing, and so I hope I get to do it forever. If that's not
Wow.
too cheesy to say, yeah.
No, not at all. It's not cheesy at all. I think it's the perfect answer. I love it. I am going to, I want to share that portion of of this interview with a lot of people to just listen to understand that you don't necessarily need to be under a self-imposed pressure. I think I think the art should kind of come first. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I do love it. So if so I also typically ask that, so does the album you intend to make, and does the album you eventually make when it's all said and done, when
Hmm.
you look at this project that you've put out, your debut album, how close is it to what you envisioned your debut album would be like, would sound like?
I think it's funny. It's very close, and at the same time, there are little kind of surprises that I
Okay.
had, if I listened to the album like that I have that I can hold in my hands today, if I listened to it a year ago when I haven't even stepped into the studio, I think I would be very pleasantly surprised. And also,
Okay.
I don't think I'd be shocked at anything, but I think I'd be like, "Ooh, I really like what you did here," or like, "Oh, you decided to do this." I would be an interesting conversation to talk to Mia from 2021 and talk to me now. But I definitely think it came out. I'm very proud of how it came out and the final result, and how every single song is. I think there's kind of a variety in the album. It's not all monotone. Every song is very different, but I think there's still kind of this continual sound that you can kind of identify as being my own, which is kind of anything an artist ever wishes for, is to have kind of your own sound. And so I'm pretty happy with the final result. Yeah.
Awesome. And I think that's all that matters, really. I love that you're proud of it. I think personally, what this is, what, August almost into September, I get to listen to a ton of music come through. I'm a close watcher of the industry, and
Hmm.
I know there was a reason why I reached out to you 2 years ago. I'm so excited that we're getting to do this right now. I
Me
think
too.
that you are, I honestly think that you're very, very special and unique. And the message with what you have started of your career, I think it's an important message. A lady called Susan Kane, she's a writer, writes. quite a ton about some of the themes that are embedded in what you write about. She talks about, you know, most of the themes. You know, somebody you may want to check out if
Yeah,
you love reading books and stuff like that. But
absolutely. I'm gonna
I
write
just
that
think
down.
it's an
Where my
important.
favorite book.
I, I think it's an important message. I think you're a beautiful and amazing singer. I don't want to belabor that process about how talented you are because it's obvious. So the album dropped on August 26th.
Yes, it did. Yes, thank you
Okay,
so much.
how
Yes.
how has reception been so far?
It's been so positive, and that's just a huge sigh of relief for me. It was a lot of build up and anticipation to kind of share this album, and it's it's vulnerable to be able to uh, kind of tell the world, hey, this is my art- artistic identity. Come and judge it. You're free. That's what happens. When you put something out in the world. But so far, it's been amazing, and it's been picked up by some really cool places, and so that's been really exciting to be able to share that and have it kind of go a little in unexpected directions, which has been a beautiful surprise, and I'm really, really pleased with how it's going so far.
We wish you so much goodness. I think that's the best we can give to you. We're gonna do the best we can to promote the album on our page and through our channels. But um, this is by far by a long mile, just in terms of the music, in terms of the lyric, in terms of how the album comes together, one of the best things I've listened to this year. I don't say that lightly, and
Oh my
I just
goodness.
absolutely love what you're doing. So we're rooting for you, Mia Kelly. That's what I want to say.
Thank you so much. I might cry. Oh my gosh. That means so much to me.
No, we love it. I know all of your handles has been sent to me by Carrie. So when we
Yeah.
go about sending people to your page, we know where to send them. But I really
Awesome.
want to thank you for your time. I see
Thank
amazing things
you.
in your future, and we're gonna, take front row seat in watching how your career unfolds, just as the years continue to go by. But thank you so much for your time, Mia.
I'm so grateful. You're such an attentionate and passionate interviewer, and not everyone is like that. So I really, really appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We're gonna keep talking for sure. This has been a blast. Thank you for coming on, and I hope we get to do this again.
Me too. Not 2 years from now. I'll be more on the ball with my schedule. I'm so sorry about that. I'm gonna go look
Hopefully
now. Are
not.
you like?
No, 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 not at all. I think this was how it was meant to happen, and it's
Exactly.
happened beautifully. So thank you so much.
Yes, I agree. I'm gonna
All right.
go call Carrie and thank her for putting me in touch with you because this has been lovely. Yeah.
Thank you so much.